Hey, what's up, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. So, I feel like this is a video that I've kind of had in my head for a little bit, but I wasn't really like that inspired to make this video, like until now when I was talking to a friend of mine. So, if you've been keeping up with my videos in Modern, you know that I'm taking a break from Modern. And, like I said in the video, like why I was taking a break because I just wasn't really doing too well, with like my deck right now, and not like I'm actually pretty happy with the format. I think the format's like pretty healthy right now after that Eldrazi menace went away. So I think like things have been fine. It's not the format, it's just like me. Like I just think I just need like a break from tournaments, things like that. And Magic's a pretty big part of my life. But I've said this before, Magic is not my life, and I feel like I'm surrounded by people who they care about Magic way more than I do. And I feel like I've kind of lost, like, I don't want to say I've lost my interest in it, because I still do really like it. So obviously I'm making videos of it, like I go to my local game store, I still play and all that stuff, but I feel like I've just kind of like, my interest in it has just been like, you know, it's been falling. And so I was talking to my friend Tyler, and I was like, hey, like, what's going on? Are you doing okay? And he was like, I get very, like, it affects a lot of my self-esteem, like, how I do in Magic. And that's a really interesting thing that I think that I realized about myself, and I'm sure a lot of you realize about yourselves too, about how you do in Magic you think it reflects on you as a person. And how, like, we can get so discouraged if we're not doing well in Magic, where it actually just comes in and affects our everyday life. And it kind of sounds like, you know, when you're like, for outside people, they're like, well, it's just a game. And then I was like, but it's something that we do, and when you get to that competitive level and when you want to do well in tournaments and you're not, that's a really, really frustrating thing, because we want to be the best. We want to, like, go to tournaments and we want to win them. We want to get into the top 8. And, like, when you don't, and, you know, we have people who, like, get into top 8 events and you're like, that's awesome. And they're like, yeah, but I didn't get first place. And then when you're not in that mentality, you're just like, well, I don't get it. Like, you still did well. And they're like, but I'm not the best. Because that links back to self-esteem and how people feel about themselves. And I know people who get so distraught over not winning games of Magic that they just get super upset. And again, people outside looking in are just like, they don't understand, because they're just like, well, I don't get why you could get so upset about not doing well in something. But it's like, well, it's a game, so look at it like other games, like sports games. I'm not really that much of a sports person, but like, if you're a sports, I don't know, you're like a soccer player and like you don't perform well, it's like, you know, that to you like hurts your self-esteem and like how you view yourself. And how a lot of people, when you're like, yo man, get over it, it's just a game, that doesn't really help anything. Because they're like, you're so upset. Like, I remember this one day I got really upset, and like people just didn't make me feel better, because they were like, it's just a game, Tracy, get over it. And I was like, that's not what I want to hear right now. I was like, I'm getting frustrated because I'm not doing well, and I haven't been doing well over this, you know, for the past like couple of days, and that really hurts me and my view of myself. And that happens, I think, a lot, and maybe that we should talk about it more, because I think that, you know, a lot of people who play Magic are guys, and they can be like, because the patriarchy, like, oh no, can't show emotions, you know, that whole like mentality. So maybe they feel like, well, I can't talk about how I'm doing in this game, and how it affects me and how I view myself. And I think we just need to like talk about that more, because it's an important sort of thing. And again, it can affect your Magic life, your Magic world, and then like your other stuff and your other world. And like when those two things like, you know, hit head on, that's something that can hurt. And I think, you know, another thing too that I was saying is that I feel like with the whole like dedication thing, that Magic means different things to different people, and it hits people more than other people. So like, there's some people who are like, you know, pretty much every weekends they like to go to tournaments. I have a lot of friends that are like that, where like, you know, my weekends are mostly spent at work I don't get weekends off. It's just not a thing that happens. So like when I think about how my weekends like are shaped, I'm like, well, I'm in this work mentality. And then other people are like, well, I work during the week and I have the weekends off, so I want to go to Magic tournaments during that time. And for me, I'm just kind of like, you know, I do really like Magic, but that's not something that I really want to be doing like all the time. Like last winter, or like this past winter break, I went to my local game store all the time. Like, I'm not kidding you guys, like, when I had a day off, I went to my local game store. When I got out of work, I went to my local game store. If I had work later, I went to my local game store before. Like, I went there, I seriously, out of like this, like, my vacation, which was like a month, I was probably there like, maybe like 25 out of like the 30 days or something. I was there so much. And I was like hanging out with my friends and it was great. And then I've noticed that this summer, like I've been home, but I haven't really been there that much, hanging out with people. And I feel like a lot of people too, like a lot of my friends like haven't really been there that much. And I think it's really interesting. I don't really know, like, I know people like get busy and like, you know, people go on vacations and like things like that. But I feel like this summer, it's like what I've been doing with my life is, you know, I go to work, obviously, have to do that, have to make money, and then you know, I'm home, and then I'm, like, relaxing, filming videos. YouTube takes up part of my life. Not, like, oh my gosh, I spend, like, 7 hours editing videos, but, like, it takes up a part of my time that I love. I love doing this. What was I gonna say? And my boyfriend is very important to me, and we, like, when I think about how I want to spend my time, it's not really so much, like, if I have a day off, I'm like, I don't really want to go play Magic. I'm like, I'd much rather spend time with him. And, like, I don't really think, I've never really been in that, like, position before, I think, because, you know, like, with Magic, so I started playing Magic, oh my gosh, December of 2011, and like when I started getting competitive Magic, which was like about a year ago, like the second half of like last summer I spent a lot at my local game store, and then but then this summer I'm just like not really doing that. And I don't really like, I think there's like a couple of reasons. Like one is the break from Modern. And so like, you know, when I go, like I'm not really, like, I've said this, but, like, I don't mind watching my friends play Magic. That's, like, something that I really like doing. Like, the other day I went and there was an Eternal Masters draft going on. And so I watched people draft, and then I watched their games, and it was, like, really fun. I had a great time, and I love doing that. And I feel like, you know, for me, it's, like, I've also come to this point where it's, like, I have, like, a bunch of trade stuff, but I don't really have cards that I need too much. Because I'm, like, I've kind of come to this point where, like, I don't really have, like, too many ideas for EDH decks. I'm still working on Super Friends. I honestly I haven't traded for the rest of the cards. I need to figure out what I'm doing for the rest of the card slots. But, like, and then I'm planning on building, like, Abzan enchantments in EDH. But, like, I don't play Standard. I don't play Legacy. I don't play Vintage. Oh my god, that's really expensive. And I'm taking a break from Modern, so, like, I don't really have, like, things that I need. And so like when people want to trade with me, I'm just like, well, I don't really have any cards that I need. And I'm like, I have all this stuff. Like I have like these fetch lands and these shock lands and like these expensive cards, but I just don't have anything that I want. And that's like piece of like why I'm kind of like, I don't really want to play that much Magic, because, or like hang out with people and like trade, because like that's like, I don't need anything. Except for, like, foil cards and pretty cards, because I just can't resist those for, like, you know, EDH decks that I have. And then, you know, part of it has been, and I talked about this in a video, like, a couple of months ago, but, like, the power level in EDH groups and how that dynamic's really interesting, because people play EDH at different levels, and I love EDH. It's, like, my favorite format, but I'm not, like, I play competitively, and I think my decks are good, but my decks aren't $700, and my decks aren't, like, I don't do super mean, dumb combos in my decks when I'm playing with people who do those things. And that's fine, but I don't do those things. And, you know, the EDH dynamic thing is, like, you know, when I started playing, like, EDH with my group of friends. I had like my group of friends, so my friend Paul, Justin, Eddie, Raul. So I was like the group of the four of us. And am I missing anyone? And then myself, yeah. So like that, and then one of our other friends, John, too. He would play with us sometimes. And so we have our group, and we were playing like very, very casual EDH. And it was great, and we loved it. And then, like, Eddie, our friend Eddie, started to work at our local game store, and so he would get more expensive cards because, you know, you work at a local game store, you're just trying to buy Magic cards, and of course, I would do the same thing. I would buy myself pretty cards and expensive cards because you can, and poured everything to this one EDH deck, and our EDH dynamic changed because Eddie was at a different power level than we were. And that was a whole big thing. I didn't really talk that much about it, but it was all, like, in our, like, my Magic timeline, like, that was a big thing. I don't actually know why I didn't talk about that. I don't really know why. But it's something that happened to us and affected our group and the way that we play EDH. And so I've never really been, like, the same after that. I've never really, because I was like, wow, there's people out there who really pour money into EDH. Some of you guys probably do that, and I think that's super cool, but I don't really do that much. Like, my Tasker deck is, like, my baby, and it's, like, awesome, and I love it. But it's like $250, something like that, and I got the cards over time. Like, I didn't just pour money into it, like, right away. I like, got pieces for it, and, like, I eventually, you know, I've been, like, foiling, promoing the deck out. But it's still, and the deck is still good. It does a lot of things. I'm really happy with the deck, but it doesn't do stupid combos. I don't have Jedi Navigator in my deck. I don't have Great Well in my deck. Like, I don't do that because that's not what I want to really do in EDH. But then it's like when you're surrounded by people who are doing that, you're like, well, maybe I should do those things. And so anyways, so I was coming from this play group, and then once, you know, Eddie started to do that, it wasn't like a, oh, well, we need to do this too. It kind of just started to be that way after a little bit. And then our play group kind of broke apart. And like my EDH group, the people that I played EDH with a lot, I haven't played EDH with these people, like hung out with them in a while. And that really bums me out. Like, you know, when you're growing up and you know, that was like, okay, we're getting like super deep into this. I didn't anticipate this at all. But anyways, my good friend Paul, his parents' house is very, very close to mine, or it was very close to mine. And then what happened, and we would go and play their EDH, and what happened is, like, long story, they don't live there anymore. And Paul has his own apartment because he's an adult, like an adult, like lives in his own place, whatever, has his own apartment. Super happy for him, he loves it. But anyways, like, we would go there all the time, and that would be like our place where we would just go and play EDH. And then when they stopped living there, like, we didn't go there anymore. And, like, we didn't really have a place. And so, like, Paul's apartment, like, I love going up there. But, like, again, the whole thing is I work on the weekends, and that's when Paul's off. So it's, like, it's kind of, like, you know, there's nothing that can really, like, be done about it. But I think at the place in my life right now, it's, like, I don't match up with a lot of the way, like, schedules with other people. And so I've talked about this on my channel, but I'm an education major, and next semester, I'm going to be doing student teaching, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited to get in the classroom, and my schedule is going to be a lot more concrete because it's a lot more, you know, like us like in 8 to, or like whatever their school day is, like 7:30 to like 2:30 or 2 or something like that. Like, my schedule's a lot easier and whatnot to deal with. And I feel like I'm kind of, like, excited for when I can finally really start, you know, getting into, like, that routine, because I think it just matches with a lot of, like, my friends. Like, I have a lot of friends who are older than me. Like, I think, like, age is, like, a huge thing, too. If you're playing with EDH with people who are, like, older or younger than you, they're on much different schedules than you, and that can, like, affect, like, your time. So, like, I'm one of the youngest people in, like, my play group. Like, and in like, when I go to my local game store or whatever, I'm friends with a lot of people who are older than me. I actually just turned 22 yesterday, June 27th. So I, like, Paul is, like, Paul, how old are you? Are you gonna be 25? He's probably not watching this video, but I think he's gonna be 25 in August. My friend Justin is, like, 3 years older than me. Like, Eddie's years older than me. Like, my boyfriend is 4 years older than me. Like, I'm surrounded by people who are just significantly older than I am, so they're at different points in their life than me. And that can that affects like our magic dynamic and like the way things work and the way our schedules match up. And that's a huge thing. And people's lives, like people's personal lives, getting into the way of, you know, playing Magic. So that I 100% did not anticipate talking about, but okay, cool, I'm glad we talked about it. So yeah, so EDH schedules, and like the power levels of different decks, and yeah, and like schedules, and like people are like, you know, I used to be there like all the time, and so then people are like, hey, I don't know when you're gonna be around, and I'm like, I don't know when I'm gonna be around either. I got into a fender bender a couple weeks ago, like, it was like, yeah, about a month ago. I'm fine, everything's fine. But anyways, my car was taken to the shop, so I've been without a car for like the past week and a half, and that's affected me because I like can't really do anything. I've just kind of been chilling at home, you know, not really doing too many things, you know. I've been doing that, so people are like, hey, hang out, and I'm like, I can't, like, I have no car right now. And guys, the most annoying thing happened. So like rental companies are like super frustrating, and so like they were like, oh, you gotta be 22, and I actually, like, from the time that we got the car, it was gonna be 1 week that I was gonna be 22, and I was like, are you serious? I'm gonna be 22 in a week and you won't let me drive this car. It was really frustrating. So yeah, so like, yeah, what else was I gonna say? So power levels, how much time do I have left? Okay, I feel like I've been talking for like ever. Oh, okay, yeah, so, and like the whole like dedication thing, and how like people put like effort into like Magic more than you. And I've kind of been at like that stage where, you know, I feel like the people around me are way more into this than I am. And so like when I got upset with it and I like took a break, so when I was talking to my friend Tyler and he was like, you know, this really hurts like my self-esteem and like how I think about myself. I was like, I kind of understand that. I was like, I mean, you know, when I was trying to like relate that back to myself so I could, you know, when you're trying to like empathize with someone and when you're trying to like understand like what they're doing, but it's a situation that you're not super familiar with, so you're like, okay, I'm trying to put it into perspective so I can understand you. And so I was thinking about it and I was like, okay, how can I relate this to me? And I was like, okay, well, I'm taking a break from Magic, and part of the reason is because I'm frustrated with like myself and how I'm performing. And so instead of trying to like keep going at it, I'm like, I'm gonna take a break. And I said this in my video, taking a break I think is totally awesome. I think that's like, if you need to do that, like do it. Like, you know, don't like hurt yourself over it. And I wonder like if that was maybe the mentality that more people have, and maybe like some people feel like afraid to like take that on because they're in like, I feel like a lot of the people who I know who like go to my local game store, they have like a routine. So like, they're like, okay, well, you know, because Magic is a very schedule-based thing where like, you know, a lot of local game stores, and like mine included, is like, okay, this night we do this event. And so like, for example, if you're like big into drafting and playing Modern, you're gonna be there, say, on like Tuesday and Friday nights. And so like then you talk to those people, and then if you're really busy with your life, you can't really come on the other days. And so I feel like that's how a lot of people's schedules are, is like, you know, and work is like a major thing too, and like my work schedule's changing all the time. I like never have a consistent work schedule. So like that greatly affects like my availability with like when I can go play Magic. Yeah. I don't want to like, oh, okay, hold on, before I say this, I have like so many thoughts in my head right now, I want to say everything. Okay, so anyways, so, a couple weeks ago, I think it was like a week ago or whatever, I don't want to like get into like the personal details because this is between John, my boyfriend, and I, but, there was like a situation that happened, and I was like, I would really have liked it if you didn't go to this Magic tournament, and I, like, and that makes me sound like, honestly, like a bad girlfriend. It's like, it's a much more serious situation. Like, I'm not getting into it. It's really personal. But, that was a situation that happened, and everything's fine. We're fine. Like, everything is okay. It was like an in the moment, like, type situation. And we were talking about it, and I was like, I feel like you care about Magic way more than I do. And he was like, yeah, I do. And when I did that video, when I was talking about EDH, power level dynamics. This is kind of like the same thing. Like, how much are you invested into this game? And that's like different for everyone. And I think that's really cool because like you can be like, you know, and that's like what's cool about Magic is because like you can be like, well, I really like playing at a casual level, or I really like playing at the more competitive level, or like I'm this into it. Like you can be like, oh, this is too much Magic in my life right now. Like, you can increase or decrease it, which I really like. I feel like it's such a, like, dedication-wise, I feel like it's as much or as little as you want it to be. And like I said, especially the whole scheduling thing that factors in, like, people get busy, it happens. And I think that's, like, one of, like, the really cool things about the game is that I think people can, you know, do what they want with it. And the whole ditching a Magic tournament thing, I think, like, that's something, and I'm not calling John out, like, on this at all, but, I think that some people get too invested into it, where it's, like, unhealthy, and, like, you know, if Magic really is, like, negatively affecting your self-esteem or whatever, like I said, just, like, take a break from it. Like, change something about the situation. Like, that's what I did, because I was like, okay, like, I have a lot of other, like, stuff going on in my life right now that I'm like, I don't want this to come into, like I said, remember, Magic World's over here, and then your rest of your life is over here, and when those two things combine, you know, things not super good. But how the whole, like, missing a Magic tournament thing, like, how if, I don't know, like, say you had plans to go to, like, a tournament, and say it was, like, not just, like, a whatever tournament, but say it was, like you were driving a significant a huge distance, and, like, you were maybe planning on being the driver, and, like, it was, like, an open, or, like, a GP, or, like, something, like, big. It wasn't just, like, a, hey, whatever tournament I like doing, so it was, like, a bigger thing, and something happens. Like, something happens to someone you know, or, like, an animal or something. Like, I feel like, for me, when I look at that situation, like, if something happened, I would be like, okay, I like Magic, but I need to go take care of that situation. And some people are like, oh, that situation sucks, I'm still gonna go to this Magic tournament. And I think it, of course, like, depends on, like, the situation and, like, the severity and whatever, but I feel like, for me, I think that's what, like, separates me from, I think, a lot of, like, my friends, because I would, like, for the people that I really care about, I would drop anything. Like for my boyfriend, I would, like, drop anything for him. Like, if something happened, I don't care what I was doing, I would just drop everything for him. And I'm sure you all have people in your life that you would just drop anything for. But then I think some people with Magic tournaments, it's like, we have to factor in, like, okay, well, I was planning on being the driver in this trip, or, I was, you know, I already put the money down for this, or, like, whatever. I think, like, those things depend, but I think, like, sometimes it's, like, what, like, the priorities in your life, like, what comes first in those sort of things. I have a friend who going through a breakup right now, and he was like, you know, the things in my life, like, you know, my boyfriend didn't like how, because he didn't play Magic, how, like, you know, like, I was going off to play Magic and do these things, but he wasn't there for that, and he was like, I feel like your priorities are, like, not there. And that's, like, an interesting sort of thing, I think, to think about, is, like, you know, like, dating someone who also plays Magic, if you do, because, you know, you hear, like, these stories, like, people who are like, I really like this one activity, and it's not just with Magic, but it's like, I really like this one activity, but my significant other doesn't understand that one activity. And I've never been the person who's been like, I have to date someone who plays Magic. I mean, I've dated people who played Magic, and I dated people who haven't. Like, it's not really a big deal to me, and especially now where I'm just kind of, like, you know, taking a break and, like, not into the super competitive whatever. But yeah, like, and I think that one of the things that I was thinking with him is I was like, you know, I wonder if he looks at, like, John and I, like, go to tournaments together, and, like, we play Magic together, and that's, like, a part of our life, but, like, I feel like he and I, like, we spend so much of our time, like, I feel like I've noticed recently, like, we don't spend a lot of time talking about Magic, we talk about a lot of other things, and I love that. Like, I love the fact that we can go to our FNM together, but we can also, like, do other things and talk about other things. Like, that's super awesome. I really like being able to not just talk about people, because there's some people that I know who I only talk about Magic cards with, and, like, that's fine, but like, you know what, like, I'm a girl, guys, like, I like lipstick, like, I like to talk about makeup sometimes. I like to talk about, like, things that are not magic cards. I say on a channel about magic videos, about magic cards, but, you know, like, yeah. So, yeah, I really love having a boyfriend who also plays Magic that we can, like, do everything with. I think that's, like, really awesome. Okay, I'm still making sure, like, my time is okay in this video, so I'm just gonna cut off on me. So, yeah, and I think, like, the whole, like, dating thing, I feel like that is a major thing that happens with couples in Magic. I think, like, a couple of you commented on, like, you having significant others, and it's like, yeah, like, that's something that I think definitely affects, like, for my one friend, like, that affected his relationship, like, his significant other not understanding, like, what do you mean you're going to a Magic tournament on a Saturday when I have off? Like, what do you mean you're doing that? And I think it just goes back to, like, priority levels and stuff, and, you know, what do you prioritize in your life? If you're always abandoning someone for a Magic tournament, I'm not saying he was abandoning his boyfriend, but, like, you know, what if you're ditching this super important thing for, you know, whatever. It kind of came into perspective, you know, a couple of weeks ago. I, like, never ask for days off, like, ever in my life, except for like, oh, it was my birthday yesterday. Yeah, I took off for my birthday, you know, or like, going on vacation in a couple of weeks, like, things like that. But there was this one day that I requested off, and there was, like, a Magic tournament. This was, like, before I took a break from Modern. I was, like, gonna go to this Magic event, and, it was also a family event, and, I was like, and you know, like, you know, some people are like, family events all the time. I don't know family events like all the time, but like, you know, they're like occasionally, and I was like, okay, I'll go to this event. And then there was like this Magic tournament, and so instead of being like, oh man, I can't have a Magic tournament, I was like, okay, I'm gonna take off work, not for the Magic tournament, but for this family event that, you know, I'm gonna go to. Yeah, so yeah, priorities. I have no idea what I'm calling this video. We're all over the place in this video. Yeah, if you stuck through the whole way, you're awesome. Yeah, that's all I got. Let me know what you guys think about this and all of this, and, you know, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.